Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Chris Hayden. I'm a producer here at Fierce, And today I'm joined by Brad Bacon. He's the VP of Commercial Product at Healthgrades. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I appreciate it.
Yeah. How's your week been? Good?
It's been great. It's been energizing, a lot of good sessions, talked to a lot of good friends that I've made through the, years in the industry. So it's been a blast.
Yeah. It's fun. You always find out how many people you actually know when you come to an event like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
a
fun.
lot of familiar faces around, right?
Yeah, it's great. All right, we'll jump right into the questions
Sure.
here. So, Brad, given the evolution of pharma marketing in the recent years, what do you see as the biggest shift in the pharma marketing landscape or the most disruptive influence?
There's a lot going on, obviously, but the one that I think is kind of having the biggest impact today is the evolution of direct to patient capabilities, so that brands can actually have a viable marketing channel with direct with patients on their site, which is powerful. But also, I believe strongly that in those relationships, it's important that patients have the trust, and sometimes directly with the brand, there's a bit of a gap there sometimes. So that the players in the space that enable objective content and experiences and discovery of care are going to remain very important in the equation.
Yeah, I like that. Absolutely. Now, ask a little bit about Healthgrades. So what role does Healthgrades play in the patient journey?
So Healthgrades is the largest patient provider marketplace.
Okay.
So what we do is we give providers the opportunity to ensure that they're representing their services, their top care areas, to the best of their ability to patients, and then we give patients the richest set of provider content, comparison points, and tools, so that the patients can find the right specialist or doctor that they need. And it's powered largely by a vast amount of patient reviews on providers that provides that extra element.
Okay, excellent. All right, great. And this is interesting here that we're building off that then. So what factors do you believe are currently most impacting access to care?
Access to care, largely there's cost. There's lack of price transparency. There's a lack of understanding of out-of-pocket expense. These are huge factors. Another that we see, and that we read a lot about and understand, is that proximity to care
that was my first thought.
Especially certain like sort of care deserts, you might say, in specific specialties. In particular, access to high quality hospitals that have great outcomes. That all of these factors. And there's another one that we've found from our reviews, or actually our surveying providers, is language barrier. So that's something we've spent a good bit of time working on, so that we have great coverage to let patients know if they need their providers to speak in their native language. We have that information, as well as all of the other, insurance and proximity, quality of care in specific care areas for all of the providers and the hospitals. So that the patients can get very objective and very very valuable info to make the right decisions.
Right. So the language thing has come up with a couple different conversations. So it's interesting that that's being addressed, I guess, a little bit.
I think it's very important. It really is
too.
Providers do say that. They say that's the number one barrier. Is language issues. It's fast communication.
I love that. So another question for you here. How can pharma prime patients to have more productive discussions? And I guess this comes down to the language barrier to a degree with providers and vice versa.
I think what's really fascinating about what we can sort of bring to that equation for brands is that we have created, in a world that's hard to create, a real 360 kind of solution. At Healthgrades, we have created one that's very powerful. And it basically, what it does is, the patients that are researching specific providers for specific conditions, when they research those providers, we can, of course, message a brand there, but then we sort of reach out to the very same providers that patient is researching. On the other side, we connect the brand's messaging to the provider.
Okay.
So we know that 4 out of 5 visitors to Healthgrades are going to appoint within a month. So those patients that are appointing with that provider, both of those, at the core of the care, it's the center of the care journey is the patient and provider, right? They're both primed with the brand's message and the brand's, at top of mind when they have that appointment.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of the way we construct it. And I think it's the way we connect patient, provider, and the message to sort of make that work in a way that's very robust.
Yeah. I like that. That's smart. Now, interesting too, and this has come up a lot during this week as well, as new paths to care emerge.
Mm-hmm.
How will the patient-provider relationship change, do you think?
So that is a very interesting question.
Yeah.
I do, like we talked about, direct-to-patient, providing, especially in some categories and conditions, it does make sense. And some patients are going to choose to take sort of the asynchronous or online care path to sort of have, really like no direct contact with a provider. Right. And then there's telehealth, of course, which is a very powerful, way to lower those access barriers. And it's great. All those taken, together can really help to close that gap. At the same time, even when those options are available, patients often choose to select a provider and go have that in-person connection. And I think it's also important to note that for a vast number of conditions, in-person diagnosis, testing, and these things have to happen. And that patient-provider relationship is sort of so core to that. So I think that remains very strong, but it's great to have the optionality for the patients. That's very exciting to think of how that can, expand access to care in a way that should help us to get a healthier population going here, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Now, put on your crystal ball here a little bit and look into the future.
Sure.
What's one bold prediction you would make about the future of pharma marketing?
And so after our conversation, Chris, you probably wouldn't be surprised to hear this. It may not sound very bold, but I firmly believe that the relationship between a patient and a provider, a patient that can really communicate well with that provider, a provider that really shows that personal care for that patient, will remain the center of healthcare.
Yeah.
That's the most important part. It's the beating, I call it the beating blue heart, because that's our Healthgrades logo of healthcare.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So that's my bold prediction that doesn't change. All of the touch points, all of the AI, all of the communication, pathways that can change, will, but that relationship will remain the center.
I agree. When you're in the door, in the office with your provider, it means so much more than than anything else.
That's right.
All the technology that got you there.
The trust you develop, the rapport you develop, it's absolutely critical.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks.